if you're going to the theaters and you're lucky enough to have a theater around you that releases Netflix distributed films, take the time to go see one. Netflix, the company that Blockbuster thought wasn't competition and just had a niche, and is now flexing its muscle at the box office. And to me, that is a sign that movie releases at the theater are still important. Welcome to another episode of the Popcorn Confessional, and this is Dave from Nerdbox, and I am accompanied by my wife, Jenn, also from Nerdbox. And on this episode, we are talking about The Unforgivable. So fire up that Jiffy Pop and meet us in the booth.
Ruth Slater has been released from prison after serving a 20-year sentence for murdering the sheriff in her small town. She's struggling to settle back into society while trying to find her sister, whom she raised until she was 5 years old before going to prison. Meanwhile, the impact of her actions from 20 years ago soon catch up with her, and she's being stalked by someone from her past.
All right, before we jump into this one, what do you think about Sandra Bullock? Are you still on board with her and her career? Because she doesn't make films that much anymore. So what's your thoughts? Drop it in the comments below.
So this movie had a pretty all-star cast. Ruth Slater was played by Sandra Bullock. John Ingram was played by Vincent D'Onofrio. And Liz Ingram, his wife, was played by Viola Davis. And then there's Blake, played by John Bernthal. So
two of my favorite people there.
Huge cast. I absolutely love Vincent D'Onofrio, John Bernthal, and Viola Davis. I think she is amazing. Everything I see her in, she just kills it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that she has great range.
Yes, definitely does. And she plays all types of roles, which is cool.
Exactly. She could be funny, she could be crazy, she could be serious. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Now, as you said, the movie essentially is about a person that is released from prison and is trying to make good by their life and also trying to connect with a loved one. And I'm sure this happens every day in real life. This is not inspired by a true story.
It's not.
You get to see the struggles of a person coming out of prison, going to live in a halfway house, kind of like what we've seen in other movies like Shawshank and a few others. Mm-hmm. The people that they encounter there, which it always seems like it's kind of corrupt like it was there. And then struggling to find a job or even have a conversation with somebody with having a checkered past like that. Mm-hmm. So you have those uncomfortable moments, which I think Sandra Bullock delivered pretty well on.
And I think that it's also made kind of worse because it's a woman. I think it's definitely different when it's a woman that served a 20-year sentence for something as horrible as she served her sentence for as compared to a man. Mm-hmm. I mean, just in general, I think that that's what you run into. And, I can't even imagine, and I feel like it was, the story was told really well to how things like this, would play out. I mean, like she goes into this first job that she was guaranteed, and the guy figures out who she is. She's the murderer of the small town sheriff, and he's like, you don't have a job. He made up excuses, but we all know why she didn't have the job.
Yeah, and then, really thinking about this in real life, this is why some people can never reform themselves. Mm-hmm. Not saying that in this case, somebody that murdered somebody should have that opportunity. Whatever your opinion is, you can leave that in the comments if you want. I don't really care. Opinions are different in this, and I don't want to get in an argument about it. But people that commit lesser crimes sometimes get stuck like this too, where mm-hmm. they have a record and maybe something went wrong or a scenario happened, and that's not reflected. You just have whatever that record is, and people are just going to assume the worst.
You don't exactly have the full story. You just see what's on paper. You don't know what actually happened, what transpired in depth. As with this, even the people that were there other than the sheriff don't really know what happened because he went into the house, he got shot, everyone else was outside. So they didn't see what actually happened in the house, and we don't actually see fully what happened in the house until near the end of the movie.
Mhm.
So
Now, I did call this out while we were watching the movie. Towards the end, there's a scene that happens, and for some reason, there's just some missing dialogue I felt in there where there's a confrontation in the movie, and it's like, why isn't she just opening her mouth and saying something? It was, well, you got to build up the suspense and drama of
yeah,
the movie, but still,
yeah.
let's base this in reality a little bit. I think she would say something, or you probably even see in other movies where they would say something. So it lost me a little bit
I mean,
there
if
in
you're
the end.
talking about like the twist, is that what you're talking about?
I don't know if it was really a twist. The movie kind of builds to it.
Well, I mean, I suspected it all along, but if that's what you're talking about, I honestly think I would have said something, especially if I'm being confronted and people are trying to like beat the shit out of me and they're threatening me. I'm gonna be like, you know what? Fuck this. Like, I'm just gonna tell you. Not that they would believe you, though. I mean, would they believe you? Probably not. Because think about what actually happened.
Logic. There's a
I understand that,
20-year gap in this movie.
but
That's all I'm gonna say.
but do people have that logic? That's the thing.
Hmm.
I mean, these people that were like threatening her, I don't think they had that logic.
I
I think that John Bernthal, who was her friend in this movie, would have believed it if she had said something. So she probably should have come clean to him. I don't know why she didn't.
Movies pacing was pretty good. Acting was decent. It's probably not the best Netflix film we've seen in the theaters this year, at least from my point of view. I don't know what you think. So what do
Well,
you
I mean,
rate?
I think Fred Notice would take the cake for Netflix movie. Or no. Actually, that's second. The Harder They Fall would be number one. So this would be 3 out of 3.
Got Army of the Dead in there too.
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
What do you rate this one?
I am going to rate this a C+.
I think that's a fair rating. It's a movie that is there. Thank God it's better than Bird Box. So I'm going to go with a C minus on this film. So it's good to watch one time. It's not worth buying or owning in your collection. And
It'll be
then
on Netflix for a while anyway. So,
it's a Netflix movie. It'll be there forever.
oh yeah, that's right. So,
So I don't care about that because if there's a film that I really like and if it's on Netflix all the time, I still want to have the physical media because digital media is not always going to be there. You may not pay the Netflix bill. Netflix may come out with another crap movie like Cuties and it'll just say, you know what, screw you, Netflix, I'm out.
that's not a movie. That was a series.
Whatever. But supporting that garbage. So it's always good to have the physical media, I think.
Oh yeah, if Netflix comes out with anything else like Cuties, then my subscription goes. The only reason I kept it then was because we didn't pay for it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have justified that bill. But we didn't have a bill.
Yeah, Verizon paid for it or whatever the phone company
T-Mobile.
was.
But if they pull that crap again, then that's it. We're done.
The only thing I will say about Netflix when it comes to that is they don't back down and bend when they get flack over a movie like some other movie studios do. And all of a sudden they put all this pressure on the directors, like, "Oh, you got to fix this. You got to cut all of this out." They're like, This is what we want. This is what we say." So I do commend them for that, but they just got to choose better content.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, and share.
yes. And stay tuned for the 100th review of the Popcorn Confessional. Until then, see you.
See ya.